All right, everybody, we're gonna get started here. I'm gonna do something that we never do. I just need the mayors to all say their name and their city. I'm just so proud to have all of you in Sacramento. This is a big deal, so I'll start on my right and say your name and your city.
Mayor Joy Cooper from the city of Hallandale Beach, Florida.
Greg Ballard, Indianapolis. George Bernero, Lansing, Michigan.
Mary Ann Lutz, Monrovia, California.
Elizabeth Couts, Burnsville, Minnesota.
Mike Bodker, Johns Creek, Georgia.
Karen Freeman Wilson, Gary, Indiana.
Christopher Cavolin, all the way from West Sacramento, California. You have a lovely city here. It's great.
They need a strong mayor.
Mike Nutter, Mayor of Philadelphia.
Mick Cornett, Oklahoma City.
Stephanie Rawlings Blake, Baltimore, Maryland.
Chris Watts, Denton, Texas. Danny Doyle, Beaverton, Oregon.
Helene Schneider, Santa Barbara, California.
Paul Stockman, Madison, Wisconsin.
Michael Coleman, Columbus, Ohio.
Come on, y'all, clap for Sac. Come on, clap for let 'em- some love, some love. So I'm very pleased to have my colleagues and my fellow mayors in the city of Sacramento, my hometown, a city I love. The U.S. Conference of Mayors, represented by our CEO in the back, Tom Cochran. This was just an unbelievable period of time. I want to thank and acknowledge the Vice President of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, to my left, and the second Vice President of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Mick Cornett, to my right. They've done a great job, and we've been in partnership together and are looking forward to doing some amazing things. We have two past presidents with us, Mayor Nutter from Philadelphia and Mayor Couts from Burnsville. So this is a part of the leadership in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and I'm telling you, these folks here make no excuse. They get work done, they talk about real issues, and this is what makes our relationship so powerful. I'd like to also say, you know, you've heard me say it in Sacramento a number of times, this is where the rubber meets the road. Yes, we're charged with filling potholes and talking about our garbage, but we're also taking on bigger issues, global issues, complex issues, export, trade, homeland security. What's abundantly clear to me is that mayors and cities must drive the resurgence in our country. So we're here to ensure that we continue to invest in our cities, which promises to be game-changing in terms of generating more jobs, fueling our economy, creating a robust recovery, and mayors are leading the way each step. You've heard me talk about Cities 3.0. Yes, I've done it time and time again. We're in generation one. When you think about Cities 1.0, it's where cities were built around ports and rivers and transportation routes, centers of trade. As generation two, Cities 2.0, they came at a much later time, the Industrial Revolution. Cities had factories and big industries, smokestacks, automobiles, electricity, transportation. But today, we're entering into an era called Cities 3.0. It's where cities are the hubs of innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. Cities are paperless, wireless, and cashless. My vision is one of using technology and innovation in new ways to improve the quality of life for residents and propelling our local economy. 3.0 citizens operate in a new paradigm. The world's largest music companies have no record stores, Apple. The world's largest booksellers have no bookstores, Amazon. The world's largest taxi company has no cars, Uber and Lyft. It's only a matter of time before the world's largest hotels have no hotel rooms, Airbnb. And very soon, the world's largest universities will have no campuses. This is what we mean by cities of service and creating new platforms. In summary, we are ushering in a new era of the American city that will drive and compete the recovery in the U.S. economy as well as future growth. So at this time, I would love to have a couple mayors come up and share a little bit about what took place while we were here for the last day and a half. And I'd like to start off announcing and bringing up the first Vice President of U.S. Conference of Mayors, Ms. Rawlings Blake.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I want to thank our president, Mayor Kevin Johnson, for his hospitality. We have had a lovely time. Sacramento and West Sacramento's rolled out the red carpet for us, and I have appreciated and treasured my first trip to Sacramento. This is an important meeting that we've had to talk about issues that we are grappling with each in our own way, and I really appreciate the fact that the Conference of Mayors gives us a chance to talk to individuals, the only other individuals really in the country who understand what we're going through and they're facing the same challenges. This is about getting the information, the best practices, and the collaboration that allows us to grow great cities. And when we do that, we know that we're going to build a stronger America, because everyone understands, and it's not just in this country, but across the world, the dynamic growth, the innovation that is happening around the world is happening in cities, and we want to make sure that it's happening in America's cities as well. And I think that's a big part of what Cities 3.0 is about. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
I'd like to thank the citizens of Sacramento for their hospitality this weekend. We've had a wonderful time. They have a beautiful city and at least two very dynamic mayors who have led us through a series of escalating discussions this weekend. I think I'm taking home some real-life examples of how we can better serve our citizens in the areas of education and income inequality. We also examined racial structures and potential breakdowns in communications throughout our communities, and all things that hopefully we'll be able to better serve our citizens when we get back. And, one reminder about the importance of the U.S. Conference of Mayors: we are a nonpartisan group serving cities that have over 30,000 people in their city. We believe that we're the last large organization that occasionally goes to Washington that sticks to that nonpartisan basis and returns back to our cities and really hammers things home and gets things done. So we appreciate the conference staff who came here today to kind of bring us all together one more time, and look forward to our next meeting. Thank you all.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you. I'd like to bring up the mayor of Burnsville, past president Elizabeth Kautz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for your warm hospitality and to the citizens of your community, both West Sacramento and Sacramento. Let me tell you just briefly, one of the things that is so important for us mayors is that when we come to a meeting, it is substantive, and that it is worth our while to come here or to any meeting and to take back. Second Vice President Mick Cornett and everyone spoke to this. But one of the things that was very important also is that we had Bruce Katz from the Brookings Institute, who spoke to us about how we need to change the way we do build the lived experience in our cities for businesses, different business in Cities 3.0. And so one of the things that I challenge them to do is that we need to look at our zoning and codes, because the zoning and codes that we live with today do not meet the needs of businesses of the 21st century, because they are zoning and codes from the 20th century. And that's something that we're going to be working on. And one of the things that you can always take away is that mayors are always on the ground, making a difference and making the economy work and creating more jobs in partnership with our businesses. So thank you very much, Mayor Johnson. It's been a very great meeting, and we are all going away with great things to take back to our citizens and to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor Kautz. And then our next speaker will be the mayor of Philadelphia, past president, the one and only Michael Nutter. Awesome.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. President Johnson, thank you again for putting together a great meeting. It was dynamic. It had so many elements, the opportunity to talk about the work of the My Brother's Keepers task force that you put together, co-chaired by myself and Mayor William Bell from Birmingham, Alabama. Mayor Cabaldon, thank you for the co-hospitality here, and of course all of our elected leaders. The discussion subsequent in the session on how we respond to critical issues in communities, and talking about Ferguson and Mayor Francis Slay from St. Louis, giving us an in-depth, up-to-date report, and some of the tough conversations that mayors have to have about issues of public safety and race and class. This most recent panel that we just finished, with new ideas now to talk about infrastructure investment, with the discussion with CalPERS and how we utilize possibly public pension funds to invest in systems that we need in our cities to deal with stormwater management and a variety of issues as we are challenged by declining revenues coming in from the federal government because of gridlock in Washington, D.C. Mayors don't have time for gridlock. We don't pass continuing resolutions. We have work to do each and every day to make our cities run, to provide the services that our citizens pay for with their taxes and deserve as citizens of our respective cities. So this has been a very, very well-organized and structured leadership meeting, and it is the dynamic leadership of our president, President Kevin Johnson, working with mayors across the country, taking on issues and challenges of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And so I'm very, very pleased to be here, as Mayor Rawlings Blake said, my first time in Sacramento, but it certainly will not be my last. This is a great, great city. Look forward to coming back. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, we're going to open it up to some questions. I'll answer a couple of them. If not, I'm going to throw it to some of the mayors who certainly can weigh in on issues. So if you have questions, be glad to hear.
So real quick, is there one specific thing you've learned from the other mayors or another place that you can implement here? And conversely, do you think the mayors have learned something about Sacramento that they can take home to their city?
Okay, we're going to jointly share this. Mayor Cabaldon from West Sacramento, you can answer it, and then I'll finish whatever you leave me. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I've learned so much at this session around with lessons that we can apply back in our own communities. Actually, one of them was interesting. This is the CalPERS investment infrastructure issue, which I should know better. It's 3 blocks away from West Sacramento, but it took the questions by the mayor of Philadelphia to really tease out what is possible. Show me some examples of projects. Is this the kind of project that we have in my community in Philadelphia that you're talking about? And you could see the eyes light up in this room, and for me, about what we could be doing, both at CalPERS and CalSTRS, right in our own backyard here in Sacramento. It's already underway. Mayor Johnson's led that work nationally and regionally, but the possibilities of the public pension funds, that the largest of which are here in California, leading the resurgence of infrastructure in this country as the federal role has declined so dramatically, is really powerful. And that lesson that I think other mayors have heard from us, one I know, it's very clear just from the dinner on the bridge last night, because they have not stopped talking about it last night and this morning, about how profound an experience that was. The 2 cities coming together across a river, 2 county lines, to make something magic happen that was about people and about food, about connecting food and agriculture together, and about recognizing and celebrating the place. Sometimes we talk about just the big financing and some of the worst social problems that we have to grapple with in our communities, but to take a moment as a community to reflect and to celebrate together and to envision what's possible was a lesson that every mayor takes back every time we come to one of each other's communities and learn what really is special about urban life in America.
Awesome, good job. Yeah, I have nothing to add. I think that's exactly what we feel very strongly, that, you know, CalPERS being here in our own backyard is something that we have not taken advantage of, and other places around the country are looking at investment with infrastructure dollars in institutions like CalPERS. And I thought it would be important if mayors got a chance to sit down and understand what the criteria, what the scope is, and what they can do particularly in their city, or projects they may qualify for a big, significant investment. So I think it was the beginning of a conversation for us, which was great. And then secondly, Mayor Scoggin is kind of hanging out in the back with his cool, get a shot at his tennis shoes. His wife dressed him up. But, you know, it's co-chair of our food policy. And this is farm to fork, capital of the country. And to be able to have mayors have dinner on the bridge last night was remarkable. And I think it was Mayor Cornett who said a little bit earlier that this is a life experience that he will remember for the rest of his life because of what we have to offer here. So we wanted to show off our competitive advantages. We wanted to expose the mayors to things that we have that are uniquely Sacramento. But on the same token, we share best practices around policies day in and day out. So again, just proud of everybody in terms of what you guys had to offer to our community as well.
Mayor?
Yep.
Stanford University released a study this morning basically attributing our drought and other weather patterns across the country to global climate change. How much time did you guys spend on that?
You know,
Take a nice drink.
you know what was, you know what was interesting? We were lucky enough that Governor Brown stopped by this morning. And Governor Brown talked to mayors about what it's like being a governor, but prior to that, he was a mayor in Oakland. And one of the questions, is Mayor Luntz there? Yeah. One of the questions that the governor was asked was about the drought and about water. So we talked about it this morning, and she leads, you should tell them who you are in the committee and the task force she's involved in, and it'll answer the direct question.
Good morning. I'm Mary Ann Lutz, Mayor of the City of Monrovia, California. And we have a committee here at the Mayor's Water Council that we call the Mayor's Water Council. We work specifically with water and how it affects all of our cities, and drought and water supply is a big part of that. One of the things that we're talking about right now in specific is our mandates that have come before all of our cities. And all over the country, there are different kind of mandates. For example, on the East Coast, they have combined sewer and wastewater systems that they need to now separate. In the West Coast here, we're dealing with mandates having to do with our runoff and our stormwater, which directly affects the drought in California. So we're working together collaboratively across the country to work with EPA on some of the standards that they give us, and we have legislation that we are hoping will go through Congress and the Senate to help give us some relief for some of these mandates, not necessarily to, well, definitely not to have our standards be lowered, but to give us some assistance so that we can meet these standards of water quality. With regard to the drought, one of the opportunities we definitely see is stormwater and runoff water can be, it can be cleaned and used and recycled and used for recharging so that we can use that water for drinking water. And that's an element that California needs to go to. The question that I asked the governor was about the bond, and I wanted him to explain to the other mayors the different elements of the water bond that will be before our residents, and how part of it will deal with stormwater, it'll deal with water storage, it'll help us with working and shoring up our aquifers and to shore up our levees and the ecosystems around water, and that it is really all connected. We firmly believe here at the Conference of Mayors that there is one water. They're not silos of wastewater, drinking water, stormwater. It is all connected, and we work very hard to make sure that we're doing things in that vein.
All right, we're going to take the last two questions here, and then we're going to wrap up. So, yep. Yeah, while we've talked about a pro-growth agenda and job creation and spurring on our economy in a 3.0 era, we also, it's incumbent upon us to talk about issues of the day. And Ferguson is top of the mind for all of us. Mayor Slay is not here, but he presented yesterday, and we had a panel, a very impressive panel, and the mayor of Gary, Indiana sat on that panel. So I'm going to ask Mayor Freeman Wilson to come on up and address that question, if you heard it. Did you hear?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah.
Good morning, and again, thank you to Mayor Johnson for his tremendous hospitality. You know, one of the areas of focus for us during that conversation yesterday was really going forward. What do you do going forward to, as you have asked, prevent Ferguson and another community? And we acknowledge that it could happen anywhere. And so we focused on a number of things, not just on law enforcement, although certainly the recruitment, the training, the sensitivity of law enforcement officers is one part of that. But we also talked about the importance of mayors leading significant conversations in their community around race, around opportunities for all, around the frustration that some residents feel when they feel that they are disenfranchised and not being listened to. and around the complexity of this issue. I think we all agree that there is no one answer to what happened in Ferguson, but we also agree that as mayors, it is up to us to be proactive and to move forward from this point and to lead solutions so that we can provide, one mayor talked about a toolkit for working in our communities to prevent the tragedy that happened in Ferguson from happening again.
All right, we'll take one last question. Yeah.
I understand that Governor Brown also made some remarks about executive mayor powers, and I'm wondering if that came up over the weekend, considering what's happening here. And if any of the other mayors, or Mayor Nutter, or anybody else want to talk about.
Strong mayor, go ahead.
I'm for strong mayors. I'm for Measure L. Measure L, to me, and I was at a meeting that the mayor hosted on Friday night with community folks talking about this particular issue. And I literally wrote on the literature that explains Measure L. For me, the L stands for leadership. Mayor's running a city. In another few years, Sacramento is going to be 500,000 in population. You need someone, one person, who's actually in charge every day, making the decisions. And it's about, as one of the other mayors said, yes, we focus on things like picking up the trash and removing abandoned cars and dealing with public safety, but it's also about economic development. It's about making sure that you have the kind of plans in place so that you don't have another Ferguson. And so there reaches a certain critical point, I think, and my own personal opinion, I think Sacramento clearly is already past that point where executive leadership becomes that much more critical. Most of the mayors here, as far as I know, most of the mayors are in strong mayor forms of government, and it is critical to the leadership of this city and this area that the citizens have that opportunity to know that there's one person who's being held accountable, who is responsible, but also can lay forward a vision of the future for this particular city. So I don't have a vote, but I have a voice, and I am strongly encouraging the citizens of Sacramento to support Measure L and certainly support the leader, Kevin Johnson.
All right, thanks. You support somebody.
Bowman's for it too.
You go.
I just 100% agree with Mayor Nutter. Mayors have the responsibility, but they also need to have the authority to meet the expectations of the public. And the old saying, the buck stops here. And that's the way it should be in any city. One person responsible, the buck stopping right here. And probably the most important thing is that mayors set the agenda and they set the vision. And if you don't have a strong mayor system, it's difficult to do that. So I agree with Mayor Nutter, and you know something about this too, Kevin?
I know a little bit about it.
Okay. I support 100%. Awesome. Yeah.
Everybody wants, see what you start, everybody want to weigh in.
I'm Mayor Greg Ballard of Indianapolis, and I like the strong mayor concept. Not much question about that. It is important that somebody, in collaboration with lots of other folks, sets the vision for the city, has the mechanisms in place to drive forward. And if people don't like that, vote them out. Because we need to have, vision usually comes from lots of different angles, but it has to manifest itself in one vision going forward. And I think that's what really has to be done. And it makes a lot of sense to us. Our town, over the last 30 to 40 years, we've changed our name from Naptown and India No Place to a city that everybody recognizes can put on big events better than anybody else in the country. And it's a great convention city, great business city, and has a reputation that is completely different than it did 30 to 40 years ago. And that is because of the strong mayor concept. And we've had a terrific succession of great mayors, great civic leadership, great nonprofit leadership, all working together. That's what happens when you have a strong mayor concept. Thanks.
just so you know, bipartisan, Democrats, Republicans commenting on that. Okay, as we close out, again, I want to thank the mayors behind me. Tom, come up here real quick. I want Sacramento to see who the head honcho is at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. This is Tom Cochran. It was funny when Governor Brown came in, and they were talking about how long they've known each other. We're talking about being Cities 3.0. You guys knew each other in Cities 1.0 and Cities 2.0, and they're still you're at 0.0.
But there's one thing that he says, and I feel for certain people that are a certain age, he gets up every morning and he's very excited about what he's doing. Yeah. He's trying to find the answers. He's a great leader. And on behalf of all of us, Mayor Johnson, we thank you for your leadership and your great team. It was just a delight to be in Sacramento, and I'm sure we'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.